there's so many things going on when we've been assaulted and victimized. And we've had some experiences as victims and survivors, so we could be here for a while. And the last couple years, when you hear topics like on human trafficking, rape, sexual abuse in the industry, and then now recently you just heard about the finally stories that are coming out that have been going on for over 40 years. When there's an anti-sodomy law, when families are assaulted, everybody's personally impacted. And to me, when we discuss these topics or cases like this, we got to be right straightforward about what's going on. Victims and families who have had no closure when it comes to abuse and rape crimes, it is unsettling and absolutely disturbing what we've been through. Absolutely. And when we talk about the topics that I think are, not just I think, I know firsthand, when somebody talks about the assault that happened to Christopher Newsome and Channon Christian, to me, we haven't even touched the surface on the years of rapes and assaults that we couldn't even get to court. We couldn't even get to court as a victim. So the victims have a say here at the Court of Public Opinion. They have a final say, and believe me, when the courts finally go forward and do the right thing and not ignore a case that long, then honestly, down south, yeah, they would not let a case like that go unsettling and disturbing because of racism. And that's why so many people placate this topic. And we're going to hit on some really serious topics when it comes to sodomy and rape of any kind, any crime, whether it be black or white. Yeah, absolutely. It is out of ignorance that most people ignore the cases to begin with. Most times the victims can't even get to the police, and that has been the unsettling matter. They go on and on. Throughout the region, we have been assaulted. We've had bathroom problems because we were sodomized. And let me tell you, the story on Christopher and Channon will not end it won't end. The sodomy and rape of anyone is over. Whoever is doing it, we were. And my family's been assaulted since 1985. And we are going to take a stand. And we are going to defend our family. And they cannot take the gun rights away from victims who have been raped to begin with. And that's the sick part of this. So for starters, when I tell you and I show you these images, this is what happened after we left the Channon and Christopher Newsome memorial. And we are going to tell you that this case, with the Channon and Christopher Newsome case, it would be retried here in Pennsylvania because they don't stop assaulting people this way. Since we left Tennessee, we have been assaulted by the same type of people. We have been raped, and literally, I believe these are the type of criminals that they're not just black or white. This is not just a black-white issue, as you know. But when somebody sodomizes and rapes a man, and we're talking the extremes of a rape and assault crime, when I tell you, you should be shocked at some of the assaults that occurred here in our state of Pennsylvania, which was not even, we couldn't get to the police, and we were arguing with the representative. This has been going on since the day we left Tennessee. We left Tennessee just to be assaulted, and all through this, there's crime scenes everywhere going unreported. It takes courage for victims to come forward. That's why, overall, most victims haven't even really gotten to court. They almost have to wait till there's a dead body for someone to do something about it. That's why they say, speak out on the assault and rapes. Because this happened to my family in 1985, and it's still going on. And they're not going to keep abusing families unless we say enough, and it's going to stop. They have been doing this since we left Missouri. This has been going on here in Pennsylvania every time. And do you know, my vehicle right now is up there, and they won't help us? This rape assault didn't just start here. I mean, they were assaulting us the whole way through this since 1985. And we are going to take the stand, and we are going to defend our families, and we're not going to be backing down to rape and sodomy. There needs to be an outpouring of support for the victims. The victims are not on trial here. And let me be honest with you. Every time they try to persecute and torture victims this way, to me, it is the insidiousness of this rape assault that has gone on in our region since 1985, 1976. And the Catholic Church right now, there's so much exposure right now, they cannot pretend or hide or even shove the information away now. It's way out there in the open, and Glenmore Academy and everything that happened there is as relevant as what happened to my family as it was in 1985. And the fact is that when they sit there and try to persecute the victims, there's some people who got another thing coming. And let me tell you, for the lack of compassion that was shown to some of the families and victims, my apology that our state has not figured out that somehow, in some way, that you just leave window legislation there, sitting there since 2006. That is the ignorance within the system. They need to clearly state how they're going to help victims and families. You have window legislation since 2006 just sitting there collecting dust along with the rape kits. Thank you. Right now I have little boys, little girls who have been assaulted who haven't even gotten the basic water necessities they need. That's why I'm asking you right now to make a very big public statement, to go public about the assaults that have gone on since 1985, and even as recently as the last 2 months, there have been assaults, and we can't fix every problem. I know that. We're not saying that there is any fixing the abuses that go on out there. We cannot afford to leave our family out in the street stranded and then freezing to death out in -5 temperatures after being assaulted to begin with. And that is the perversion of the crime. The Channon Christopher case is just as relevant here as it would be in Tennessee. It's just as relevant because there are individuals who have sodomized children like myself and families like ours. You don't have to be from a rich or poor neighborhood either. Apparently, when abusing somebody, they have a specific idea, but they had a plan in mind to sodomize me, and I need to know who the hell they are, because we have kids that need food and clothes right now. We have families who have been left stranded in -5 temperatures, and we are going to get justice. When I think about the Channon Christopher case, so many things come to mind. The hours before his death, the hours and minutes before Christopher's death, the hours when somebody's being raped, the shock, the trauma to the body, that is the reality of a rape like that. The reality is that there are children who have been victimized this way. That's the best thing the community can do, is pray for your community and pray that there's a clear message that when somebody is sexually abusing children or sexually abusing anyone, when we're talking about a rape like that, when we're talking about sodomy, these criminals wouldn't stop at just abusing somebody. Here's the thing, it had to take a murder for somebody to find out the truth. And that's the worst part. That is the truth. The ignorance is that everybody somehow thinks they can placate these abusers. You can't win with those abusers. Look what happened to Christopher. Look what happened to Channon. This is, and believe me, I was down at Pizza Milano before that assault happened downtown Pittsburgh. We couldn't even get out of the bathroom because we are suffering from injuries from a sodomy. So I'm not going to sit here and be re-victimized by those abusers, ever! And there were comments and there were questions that I'm going to address about what we went through in surviving a rape assault. I showed you images earlier, how long these rapes and assaults have occurred, and it would take a long time to get to the story about what really happened and events that occurred that night. I'm going to walk you through a scenario of rapes that went on. I can tell you, I can describe to you what it was like that night when I was sodomized. I was down in the Florida beach, and there was stuff coming out of my butt, and I was in shock. And I couldn't scream for help. The deafening silence of a rape. When somebody feels the sting of death, when I tell you, it hurts, there's pain I have not ever felt. And I have had surgery, and then after the fact, even after that, a lot of people question our case. Do you know I was strangled 70 times? It wasn't enough to rape me. That's why my case is going to get heard. Because if we don't defend our own and our family, then we will have casualties. And that is the truth. You defend yourself and your family. You make sure you have a gun and protect yourself and your family. It's either you and your family or the assailants. And at the end of the day, the victims are not on trial this time. It is so complicated when you think in terms of because obviously you cannot get past the black-white issue, because when you're dealing with criminals, you don't know where they're at. You have to understand what the individuals were thinking that night. They were going to rape and murder a white couple. That is the story that most people need to hear about the Channon and Christopher story. They were there to murder a white couple. They were envious, jealous, and angry. They felt like they probably got cheated out of life, like they didn't have anything going for themselves. The heinous part is that they spilled bleach. I mean, they don't just spill it. They forced Channon to drink bleach to hide the semen in her throat. That is how obviously difficult it is to comprehend that kind of crime. That in itself is criminal. There's more. So when we talk about the white-black issue, all things aside, if it happened to a black couple, it would be just as relevant. In this case, this was an assault on a white girl. This is an assault on a white couple. It is obvious when you listen to the media how they propaganda, they force this topic out in the open because they're well aware that there are things that are going on in our communities that is very relevant. There are black-white issues. This hasn't gone away. The raping of a white girl, the raping of a white couple doesn't go away. It doesn't have a footnote in history. It has impacted families. For the rest of their lives, they're going to have to understand and come to some realization that their children may not come home, and that is the problem that we're trying to address. If we don't address it, it should have been addressed, and that's the problem. We have been outraged, and we were waiting for results. In 1999, I truly believe a lot of these rapes and these murders can be prevented, and we cannot ignore it anymore. Whether it be a black-white issue, when it comes down to heinous rape of children or anyone, it is an outrage. And you have to get louder, and you have to speak out, because someone is going to draw some clarity. Clearly the law needs to state how to prevent rape and abuse. Why do we have to wait till 30 years later to get justice? HB 951 needs to be passed as not just window legislation. It needs to be very specific to what is going on. And here's the thing, when they start banning guns and things like that, we're in trouble long before. Pennsylvania's been in trouble for a long time, as you know. I mean, the perversion, the twist of the story is turning it around and blaming victims for being abused and then taking their gun rights. To me, that is the violation. You tell me that Pennsylvania is a battleground state for this very topic, because Pennsylvania has been the gateway to the South. And Pennsylvania is very relevant when it comes to history. When history has shown us that if you spend the rest of your life waiting for justice, you could be sitting there for a while. Armchair politics isn't going to fix it. You go out there and you start yelling and saying, I need you to go forward. I need you to be able to defend your family. You have the right to protect your family. You have rights. It's called your Constitution. It is the Bill of Rights. You exercise those rights, and you do it in a public forum anywhere. Your home. That's how America, that's how the framers designed it. To have the right to defend your defenseless children and family. And that is the bottom line. And looking at the way things have been going on in Washington, D.C., for 40 years, they've been allowing the incinerators on and aborting children like an abortion bill. The incinerators have been on the whole time. And we're sitting there looking at what happened in Germany. Do you know what happened in Bonhoeffer? When Bonhoeffer watched as they were preaching and they raised the music louder. They raised the music louder as the trains were gone by, as they were carting bodies out of those prison camps. So it's very relevant, whether it be abortion or rape. It's very relevant either way. And as you guys know, as we try to rest here knowing, I know this is not over. I know for a fact that there are going to be other cases and other crimes going forward. And I know, looking back, that I know a lot of people still have not received the justice they deserve. Thank you for listening to the Court of Public Opinion.